Okay, well, Osmyn, thanks for taking the time to share your story with us. So you're a photographer.
Yep.
I was wondering if we could start off just kind of talking about how you got interested in photography.
I was just about to get out of high school. It's like my junior year, and I found out about the photo department. I didn't know we had a photo department in the other school because our two schools are separate at Chicopee and McCaskey. I didn't know we had a hospitality and tourism part, so I signed up for a yearbook. And then I quickly realized I had like no creative freedom there. So I quit that, and then I went off to college after I graduated. Went to a private school for a year, didn't like that, just wasn't for me. Got my camera, my first actual big boy camera, as I say, that like 2007, the end of 2007, and then from there is history. Right after that year, I basically applied for art school, and then 4 years later, well, not 4 years, it's like more like 12 years. 12 years later, here I am, still doing it. I love doing it. And,
cool, and you ended up at PCA&D, right,
yes,
in Lancaster?
Yep.
Okay.
I ended up at PCAD. It was the closest school, and to be honest, it was like the only four-year college for art students that I could find. Yeah. To my parents, judgment, they're like, you have to go to a four-year school and get a diploma. I'm like, that's fine. But yeah, best 4 years of my life. It's a small school. It's great community builder, and I talk a lot. I'm very sociable, so like I got to know everybody in the school. They got to know me, and it was great. It was great. PCAD's like awesome. so yeah, yeah.
Did I read correctly that you were a speaker at commencement there?
Yes,
this year?
I was the first alumni commencement speaker for like the alumni association class, and it was a huge honor for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that went a lot smoother than I thought it would because I'm not good at speaking to crowds or speaking in front of people, so to speak. But it was nice. It was really, really fun. The speech was good. I flew through it. Everybody was really supportive, so got to wear my little beret that they have.
That's
so
great.
it was awesome.
You got to kind of go back, sort of where it started.
Yeah, it's great.
That is very cool.
Yeah,
well, let's talk about some of your art. So I know you work mostly in film and not as much digital. Why is that?
A lot of reasons. It kind of, like I tell people this all the time, it's kind of a standard. A lot of film helps you slow down and think about your images more because you have less leeway either way when you're photographing film. So like if you shoot small format, like 35 millimeter, you only have 36 pictures or 24 pictures to get the pictures you want. In medium format, you only have even less, you have 12. Then you go up even bigger, which is what I'm shooting in now, you only have 8 pictures. And I limit myself to those 8 per subject I shoot. So like they said, the biggest thing is just like I have to think about every single aspect of the photograph when I shoot. It's just, it helps me create the photographs I want, the composition, the lighting, and I just, like I said, I just have to think about every little part, every little detail.
Well, yeah, I would think with digital, you like snap, 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 and hope you get something good, and then with limiting yourself to 8 pictures.
Yeah, and so instead
you don't want to waste your 8 pictures.
Yeah, instead of shooting 1,000, I only shoot 8, and then out of those 8, I make it 1.
Wow.
So it's like I limit myself extremely. So
that's awesome.
It's awesome.
So I know a lot of your focus, it seems like especially when you started, was in nude photography. Can you kind of explain why you chose that?
The first thing was like just a whim. I wanted to try it. But then like I started to notice in the area, there was like a certain type of photography and like a certain way women were being portrayed. And I didn't like how that was being shown in certain galleries and certain spaces. And I was like, well, I think I can do better. And I felt that if I were to use my friends instead of models, the pictures would come across more real and less like sexualized and objectified. That forced me to be even more not like objective, but more focused on getting pictures that mean more than just the figure in the frame. I took it upon myself to represent my friends in this vulnerable state, and they're trusting me, putting them in that vulnerable state and taking photographs. So it's like, and that's kind of what went into the process. Like I started out with females, and then for my senior thesis, I photographed these giant, like 3.5 by 4 foot pictures of nude men.
Yeah, I saw that was the exposed gallery that's on your website.
That was fun because it was like, it was very hard to get people in front of the camera, especially with a camera that takes about 20 minutes to actually start taking the pictures. So like a lot of the subjects would have to sit there. and wait for me to be ready while they're nude. And it's like, well, that's kind of just back and forth. Like, I have to look at you, you have to look at me as a male, and we have to deal with it and hope the pictures come out. But like that project was like challenging in many, many, many ways, but it worked and it was great.
And you had said, I read that that made you kind of look at yourself also, and like your self-confidence and how you look at your own body, just having to do that as well.
Yeah, that's kind of where the whole project really stemmed from, just like me and like this whole masculine stereotype that men are supposed to be, and how media portrays men and how they're supposed to be. And I always wanted to challenge that with these photographs and show it's like, no, we don't always have to be that way. We can be different and vulnerable and, you know, show ourselves, but a lot of men tend to be prideful and don't want to put themselves in that state. So it's like, and that's one of the bigger issues, like just finding people to actually follow through on photographing was a huge part. That's why I only ended up with 6 photographs over a year's worth of work. So, but yeah.
Yeah, because you don't see it very often. I mean, you see naked women everywhere, but you don't
see men. You don't see men at all.
The men.
And even to this day, like I try and start that project back up, and like it's just impossible. Yeah. Almost impossible. So I just got to find the vein of people that are willing to work with me and go the extra step, you know.
Well, they were very cool, so I hope you can get more. So kind of going along with the lines of the stereotypes, I know that was kind of how you got started with your latest project about I'm Still Black. So could you maybe kind of talk about how that started and what it means to you?
It stems from high school, and we all know high school is a very like volatile and environment. People are trying to find out who they are. Meanwhile, you have those people that like, you know, they're criticizing every little thing you do because you're acting the way you are. So for me, it was kind of like a lot of people within my culture and outside my culture were like, why are you acting this way? Why do you listen to this music? Why do you wear skate shoes? Why do you have all white friends? Stuff like that. And then it was brought to my attention like 2 years ago when I started, or a year ago when I started the project. My fiance and then my professor at the time were like, well, why don't you start photographing the people around you and kind of documenting how they feel and like how they feel about being black or like how they feel about being different. So I started with kind of walk and talk interview type situation where I would go around with a 35 millimeter, photograph them, and then write down all their thoughts as I was interviewing them and walking around and stuff. But then I decided, well, let's step up a notch, go bigger, see if I can make the prints bigger. I ditched the whole journalism type aspect of it because I kind of wanted to make the pictures speak for themselves, so to speak. And that's what happened. I ended up using a large format camera. I print them like 4 by 4.5 feet now. And that's like, there's a bunch of reasons into why I use like the film I use and like why it's black and white. It's the film, I want like a presence to the images because you don't see, especially around Lancaster in my opinion, you don't see a lot of black faces. And when people, like I've had instances where people have like walked into galleries and been like, oh my goodness, like what is that? Yeah. Like they're just awestruck. And like the large prints like do that, but then it's like, it's a large print of a black person. Right. Like you don't usually see that. And then the black and white for me is like almost like a literal and like artistic visual. Like I felt like they'd be way better in black and white. Yeah. But then I also think internally it's like a black and white issue with me, like on a whole different scale coming from high school all the way up till now. And I still deal with that stuff.
Did you run into your friends? I mean, did you kind of tell them what you wanted them to portray in the photos? Did you have something in the back of your mind that you wanted to show in each photo, or did you just kind of let them express themselves and how they feel about themselves as a black person?
It's kind of like a 2-part answer. The one, I give them stipulations on how to dress, but I let them dress in their own way. So I tell them to be like very unapologetically black when they come to shoot, but then I just tell them to be themselves in that vein of thought. But a lot of times it's like I don't give them a lot of direction when I photograph. I usually find somewhere interesting around the city, locally, and I try and make it seem like we're not in Lancaster. That's where a lot of the pictures kind of...
Yeah, you can't really tell from the photos.
And that's the point. Like I don't want people to focus on like Lancaster so much. I want to focus on the people and like look at the people in front of you. And that's why a lot of the eye contact is like huge part of my portraits. Like I cannot tell you enough how much like I'm just like annoyed when I see like photographs, especially like in nude photography. It's like photographs where like the women aren't looking at you and they look. It's usually shot from like above, and it's like that's even more vulnerable and playing on like stuff you don't want. But with these portraits, like I definitely want the people in the photos to confront whoever's looking at them. And it kind of changes from time to time, but a lot of times it's like straight on, straightforward portrait of the person. And like I said, I don't want the picture to be way like too complicated. I just want it to be like, there's a picture, there's the person, get what you get out of it, and then go your own way. But lately, I will tell you this, lately, I have had a bunch of ideas that kind of hark back on like my own stereotypes I've done with. So like, I'm one of like, all my life I played soccer. I've been like the only black person on my soccer teams growing up. So I wanted to make a picture where it's either me or someone I know with their front facing, it's kind of me visualizing out loud, but me front facing and then like having their arms out like this, but then on opposite sides of them, just the backs of the heads of all white players. And then them looking straight into the camera and then like a goal being like the silhouette of the frame. But it's just, I have to figure out how to get it out. But that's just like kind of what I've been playing with conceptually and like bringing that even further into like what I think.
Yeah, so it kind of started out, it seems like a personal journey, and now it's coming back to that a lot more with your new ideas.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It's just all coming together. So.
Do you have a favorite out of the photos in that series?
Yes, the first one I ever took. It's this woman with glasses. It's like the first image on my website. But like the reason I like it so much is because like that picture doesn't do that model justice. She's like 6 something and she's like super built. So like I'm already intimidated by like her demeanor because she can command a room. Like when she came to the show I had for the Prince the first time, like she just commanded the room and like she's just very fierce, very nice person. But like that's kind of why I named that picture intimidating. Like it's just like it's just like she's a strong African woman, and like that's what that picture like encapsulates. And I was like, yes. So, and then another one's like of my Uncle Fred. It's like an older man. I don't know if it's on my website yet, but he was like the first black quarterback at F&M. Oh, wow. And then he's like a treasure trove of knowledge about F&M, his experience going to F&M. And that's different for me because like he told me all these stories about how he dealt with racism and how he wasn't going to let anybody push him around when he was there, when he first got there. And it's like the picture of him is like, yes, like that's you, Uncle. Like that's perfect. So yeah, I like them all just as equal, honestly. But the first one I took and how it came out and like the impact it left on me, it was like that's a good way to start the project. So.
Well, it seems like from the photos that I've looked at, it's kind of both celebrating Blackness, but then also kind of trying to defy the stereotypes as well. Like the one with the father and son. Yeah, that one is just because, you know, you hear the stereotype of the absent black dad, and then there's this great photo of him.
Oh, that one is for me, there's like a huge story behind that whole thing with my cousin, but like, that's, I think like people wouldn't know that, but then I tell them the story when they see the photographs and stuff like that. But it's like, that picture, like, pictures like that are like kind of what I'm trying to go towards conceptually more. Like, you know about that whole stereotype, but then other people may not. And then I tell them about the stereotype. They're like, oh, really? And then it's like, it's even more informed. And now they get it. But it's like, the pictures like that, like, dime a dozen. I'm not going to get another picture like that because the kid, my cousin Braxton, he nailed that picture. I didn't think he was going to do that. And then when I took the picture, he just had this big old cheesy grin on his face. There's snot all up here in his face. And it's like, oh, it's like, nailed it. So, yeah.
Why do you choose to focus more kind of on like everyday typical people than having models in your
Fantastic
photos?
Question. More or less, it just comes down to like the people I photograph are more comfortable, and I don't want people to be fake. Like I don't want you to put on a face to be in front of my camera. Like I've worked with models before, and I can immediately tell the difference. Like it's just like you're not who you are outside in front of the camera anymore. You're this model person now. And I just didn't want that to be in my photographs. That's not the point. And it's just like people, the more and more, like I said, the more and more I talk to people and the more people I get in front of the camera that actually can relate to what I'm doing, model or not, it's like I feel like the people, like friends and family, I connect with them more, especially my family. Like my family are like as far away from like art as you could possibly be. But now that I'm doing this work, it's like now they're getting a better perspective on what I'm doing, and they understand a lot more. But yeah, just regular people. It's just I feel like they fascinate me more. Like they have more character. And like I said, the biggest thing is like, I don't want fakeness. That's the huge thing. Just don't want you to be somebody you're not. And I've encountered that, so it's like I don't want that at all.
Yeah, I noticed that especially in the nude photos, they're not stylized at all. Like they're in messy rooms, just hanging out in normal positions. So it really does portray them as you know.
And that's what I want. Like I don't want to I want to show you what's there. I don't want you have this like stylized, hyper-realized version of like who these people are. Like, no, these are my friends. This is their spaces. This is who they are. And that's what I want. And I mean, that's another thing. Film, I can't manipulate anything because it's hard to do. I've tried, but it's honest. It's up front. You can't really lie with film. Digital, I feel like you can manipulate stuff, but that's a whole other debate.
So you like keeping it real.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what do you have coming up in the future? Just continuing to work on
this project. This is going to go on for a while. That's probably the most frustrating thing I've dealt with, like people asking me, because I had a residency show last year, and people were like, oh, well, what's next? And I'm like, I've only made 6 photographs, so I have to keep going with this. Like, this is very personal to me. So it's like, this is going to be a while for me, as long as people are willing and people understand what I'm trying to do. I'm going to keep doing it. What's I think of what's coming up. I have a couple of shows next year and this year. I think 1 solo show this year, and then another 2 or 3 next year.
Is it hard to find shows around here?
Around here, yes.
Yes. And I'm thinking especially with like the nude photographs that you do, like it's conservative.
People
like,
are very...
the city's getting more hip, but...
People are very like, no. Can you crop this here, crop that there, and stuff like that. But with the black photographs, it's getting better, but it's still hard to find places that will want to show this stuff. I mean, the gallery we're in now, Pava, is great. They help all kinds of artists of color, and artists in general will get their work out there. But I will say it's difficult because my prints are so big. And on top of that, people are more or less worried about how to frame it than the actual content. And I've run into that like multiple times, but a lot of times like how I frame it is very clean and simple. And it costs like $400 to frame one of those. So it's like I can't spend that kind of money. But yeah, I mean, that's the only real obstacle. It's like I could shop it around, but a lot of the opportunities that have come my way is just to like word of mouth and not really submitting to galleries and stuff like that. And it's just space. A lot of times it's space.
Have you had a lot of positive feedback from the Black community about the series?
It's been great. People can't say enough. I actually had like 2 really funny interactions last Friday. I had a show I had a piece in the Ware Center for the annual Expanded Vision show, and 2 of my friends are younger, and they were like just like jaw dropped, like amazing. They were super happy. And usually, like, the responses I got from like a lot of the people that were at the show were like, "Oh, this is beautiful, fantastic print quality," and asking me all these questions about how I did it. And I'm like, it's not, rocket science, but I get where you're coming from. But they were people were very happy. And then having the biggest print is like that helps obviously with exposure. But it was very, very positive, very, very positive. Got a lot of very good looks and almost had a purchase. I'm still waiting on an email from the person, but we'll see. We'll see. Here's hoping, yeah.
Could you tell us expand a little bit more on kind of some of the stereotypes that you have walked through as a Black person and how that impacts the work that you do?
Yeah, and a couple of big ones. When I was in college, I had a mohawk and I straightened my hair a lot because it was like 4 or 5 inches long. Got a lot of slack for that from people of color all over the place. Why would you do that to your hair? And it wasn't, when I say it like that, why would you do that to your hair? Thinking about it now, I get why they said that, because like my hair is awesome. I love my hair. But then there's like instances where like I would listen to like heavy metal all the time when I was in junior high. And like people from my culture would be like, oh, you shouldn't listen to that music. That's not Black people music, that's white people music, yada, yada. This is the craziest one. When I did good in school. That was a huge one. Oh, what are you doing that for? Like, why would you? And I was like, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
That people would be like, oh, that's not this, that's not that. We don't do that. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that I'm just trying to get out of high school. Like, I don't want to be stuck here. Like, I'm trying to think of like, I used to skate, like, and like me and my two best cousins are like my best friends. I used to skate with them all the time because like I couldn't find other black kids to skate with. I mean, now it's different. There are a lot of black kids skating and everywhere else, but like that was a thing when I was in junior high. Black kids didn't skate.
Yeah.
Wasn't a thing. Soccer, even that. What are you playing soccer for? That's not. Tons of things. There's tons of things people would say to me, and I'm like, and I wouldn't really care. Like, it didn't get to the point where like I was like, breaking down at school, but I knew about it in my head, and I was just like, you guys are just, you're idiots. Like, you're idiots. Like,
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, like, why are you so concerned with this? Like, oh, even like when I would get my hair cut, like I would just shave my head, and people would complain about that. Like, why don't you have your hair looking nice? Stuff like that. And I was just like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
I remember I spoke up for myself. I was in class. I remember I was like, why does that matter to you so much? Like, why? And the teacher, of course, tried to break it up. I'm like, no, I want to know why it matters so much to him that I have my hair a certain way, and he cares so much about it. Like, and it's just stuff like that. Like, I remember very vividly a bunch of it, but like, just those are some of the things that kind of inspire me to keep doing the work I do, because I know there's people out there that dealt with the same thing, listening to pop music, all kinds of stuff. And it's just like, that's what motivates me, because I know high school is brutal. Even junior high is brutal. So it's like, that what motivates me to like pass this on and show even smaller kids that like, here's this piece, this is what it represents, and like, this is for you too. So that's what drives me. Yeah.
What would you say to like kids that are younger than you who might be going through some of the same things where they're, hearing things from different people in their own culture?
I would say, honestly, if you can talk to your parents about it, like that's the biggest thing, because like, I even got it from my parents, but I don't think they understood completely. So that's like, I feel like a lot of parents don't understand like bullying is happening. To like, if their kid's getting bullied, like they just kind of overlook it. It's like, oh, he's being a kid, yada yada yada. You get parents. I think parents and kids have to understand like something has to be done before something's too late, or someone goes over the deep end and like depression, everything else like that happens. But for kids, it's like, just be you, honestly. Like, don't let anyone else tell you how you should be, and live your best life. Like, I mean, I've had plenty of people try and change who I am on multiple occasions, and I'm like, why? It's dumb. You shouldn't try and change a person. But yeah, another thing that helped me is just finding your own group of people that are supportive of you as who you are. Like, that's a big thing. Having those friends there that understood me and knew how I was and understood who I was, huge help. And just honestly, if you can, ignore the comments. Like, kids are, brutally honest, and it sucks that kids are that way, even in high school and junior high. But it's just something that, I feel like sadly it's part of life, unfortunately. But it's just, for me, it's like when I had to deal with it, I kind of just either addressed the issue up front and asked people questions about it when they said things, or I just ignored it. And I was kind of like, well, what they're saying doesn't matter to me. It's not, it's not going to affect me. And I'm going to do my best to just get past it and keep being happy. That was my thought process. So
Find your tribe and
that's
celebrate who you
Find
are,
your tribe.
no matter what
Find
culture
that
you
group
are.
of people that'll like have your back no matter what. That's
Cool.
the biggest
That's great
thing.
advice.
Yeah.